conversations. I understand why. Because we're imperfect people, and we put a lot of, maybe a little too much of our happiness based on somebody else that's also flawed and trying to figure their stuff out as well. Gosh, where else? I was fortunate. I went to Paxton for 3 years here in Jacksonville. Went to Providence my last year. Was fortunate to win a state championship at Providence with the great Jim Martin. If you don't know him, he's one of the best basketball coaches here in Jacksonville ever. He's still doing it. Crazy. Was blessed to play basketball 4 years at the University of Florida, where I got my undergrad and my master's. Went on to play in the NBA for a short bit, and then overseas I played in Turkey, Greece, Italy, and Israel 6 years before I was like, all right, enough of that. Enough of trying to put a ball in the hoop. Really hard trying. So y'all know my free throw percentage. Came back here to America just after my last season and was just ready for whatever God had in store for my life. And my first year, a lot of really great things happened. I got my job now with the SEC Network. I was working with one of Tim Tebow's companies, and I had ended up getting engaged that year. Little did I know in 2022, all that good stuff, not that it was unimportant, but the perspective on all those things would be changed drastically by a car accident I was in 2022. And since then, through a lot of work, through a lot of reflection and optimism and faith, I have tried to live a message of not letting anyone else write your narrative of what your life is going to be. And every platform and chance that I get to share my story, the answer is always yes. Because we don't know what tomorrow holds. It's really funny. I was on set a few weeks ago with my, how it works. I fly up to Charlotte for SEC Network when we're doing studio. There's always a host. It's either Alyssa Lang, Peter Burns, or Dari Nelk, or one of those three. They work year round, they do all the sports. They bring in people like me, analysts, during the season to break down whatever sport that is. And it's usually two. It was me and Pat Bradley. Pat Bradley played basketball at Arkansas. He's got a Boston accent. It sounds a little bit different than yours. It's his Boston accent. But he had this pen randomly as we were between games, and it said, "Life can change on a dime." James 4:14. And I'm like, I've read James. It's probably one of my favorite books of the Bible. What is that scripture saying? It's saying, don't boast about tomorrow. We have no idea what, like today already has its problems in it that we need to solve and address before moving on. And it's great, yes, let's have plans for the future. It'd be irresponsible if we didn't plan for the future and think about, how our actions affect the future. But today, right now, life is now. That's how I came up with the title of the talk, The Priceless Pursuit. It's priceless for us to pursue presence. Because once a moment is over, we can't get it back. And by focusing and anticipating what is in the future about to happen, we still miss out on being present. And I've just come to realize so much with my story of being on this pinnacle of life, on the outside looking in, and then all that being stripped away. How do you rebuild yourself? How do you, like, when your identity, you thought it was solid in where you were in life, it's kind of, the ground is shaking, the rug is swept from under you. Was your identity rooted in things that are strong enough to withstand the things that you see and experience? Because we're all justified, without a doubt, to feel what our feelings allow us to feel. Grief, depression, anger, frustration, when something really difficult happens, but we can't live there. We can't live there. We can't stay there. That's why I like to transition into this really cool video I came across. a few days ago when I just started meditating again, and it's a beautiful picture about the maple tree and how the maple tree is designed to withstand and adapt to the constant change around it. If the maple tree tried to stay green all year long, it would die. If it tried to produce syrup all year long, it would die. Oh,
I'm not sure. I got locked out.
Hey, I had such a good transition.
Keep going.
So that's such a great story for me. One of my great friends and clients just called me before coming here. I'm going to meet him this afternoon. But this is exactly the message that I need to give to him because he had a great company, making millions. It was just wonderful. He started a restaurant. In 9 months, it collapsed, and it pulled down his company. It pulled down everything, and so he's lost everything. Lost his car, losing his house, and is saying, "Okay, now what's the new beginning?" And so, what a great message this is for all of us.
Yeah, I think it's so good. Speaking of Coach Driscoll, who has had the connection to Mark Driscoll. Yes, speaking of Coach Driscoll, he always says this. I've known him now for 15 years. He recruited me out of high school when he started at UNF. Obviously, I went on to do I would have gone, if I had to choose between JU and UNF at the time, I don't know, maybe JU, maybe, I don't know. Anyways, Coach Driscoll always says this, and he uses some explicitives every time. I'm not going to use them. If you just made a mistake on the court, try not to let it compound. Try not to let the last play affect the current one. So, what is the next right thing? When we're overwhelmed and we're stuck and maybe in a situation like your friend, all right, I've hit rock bottom. What is the next right thing for me to do?
Yeah.
How do I adapt? Because sometimes, I can only imagine just that fall from grace. If he's like, what do I do now?
Right.
The next right thing.
Yeah. Everything was set for him. Now not. So, yes.
All right, let's do this. Hopefully the volume.
How's this volume?
We will find out.
Yes.
Today we take a tour of our Earth's 4 seasons from the perspective of a tree famous for its sweet syrup, as well as for its brilliant fall foliage. This cycle is a good reminder of an important in other words. That is that everything is changing in our minds, our bodies, and the world around us. It's spring, and in spring, our new buds on the tips of all the maple trees' branches. Leaves on the floor, richly clean with the chlorophyll they will use in photosynthesis to make sugars and oxygen out of carbon dioxide release. As the spring transitions to summer, the maple tree flowers produce its seeds. They are packaged in samples, the little helicopters, run airborne with the wind and whirl long distances, spiraling in the air until they burn, and journey to produce a new one. During the summer, the leaves do the job of photosynthesis, but in the fall, because of the shortening daylight and changes in temperature, the chlorophyll breaks down, and with it, the green color vanishes, allowing the yellow, orange, or red pigments is seen as winter turns to spring. When plants reappear, buckets disappear, and spring leaves once more unfurl to begin the year of renewal. And so, as you go about your day, consider the flexibility of the thing, and how, just like always, it's built to respond naturally to its changing condition.
Headspace is a great app.
What's that?
Headspace is a great app.
It is a great app, absolutely. And I just loved the way that ended. I believe everything that's been created, there's an order and design behind it. I mean, that tree is not thinking about adapting. I'm like, how much more so are we made to adapt? And like the tree is by itself. We have each other, right? We have friends and family and people that can help us withstand whatever comes our way. And I'm sure you've all seen a lot as well. I'm sure as a PI, I'm sure you've seen
stories.
quite a bit. But I guess and I love this too. Like, this analogy, this story that I got from a friend of mine in terms of the practice of something versus the attitude of it. Because I would say a lot of us probably have an attitude, gratitude for the most part. I hope so. But what does the practice of that look like? And she used this analogy. If we went to the airport and we saw, let's just say for number's sake, 100 women at the airport traveling in yoga pants, which is very common anywhere. If we went up to a lot of any of those women randomly and said, hey, are you planning on doing, like, who's your favorite yoga teacher? Who's your favorite yoga instructor? What type of music? Like, what are your favorite poses? And they're just like, what? What are you talking about? I'm just here to, I'm wearing these just for travel. But let's just say you go to your gate and there's a woman in her pants and because there's a delay, she pulls her mat out, she's got some yoga shoes, she puts her headphones on and starts actually practicing and doing some yoga while in the midst of a situation that wasn't ideal. You would say that person has a practice of gratitude versus just the attitude. And I say it's the actions, because I think a lot of us, we know what the next right thing to do is. We know, and sometimes it's the hard thing. It's actually doing it and showing up for yourselves. That I believe is, for me, because there's plenty of times where I say, I think of doing something and I think that's enough. I thought about it, right? I thought about journaling. It's on there. It's in there, that counts, right?
It does count. That's something.
You're laughing so hard because you're like, oh yeah, that's me with fill in the blank. When we delay ourselves that actual action and the satisfaction of getting something, like it's discounting us building up that callousing of our mind, or like when you go to the gym, you can't just work out one time. You have to keep going and staying consistent for your muscles to grow, to hit those goals, etc. And you can't just have wishful thinking of like, okay, yeah, like, all right, if I just visualize doing some workouts today, like, that's gotta count. That's gotta count, right? And look, there is power in visualization, but I don't think it works with counting calories. So what does that mean? Like, how do we take steps of this priceless pursuit and making it something we can do consistently? So 2 years ago, I was in the hospital, and this is so crazy. I played 150 games at the University of Florida. I think I'm the second winningest most player or something. I don't care. Experienced a lot in those 150 games. Won a lot, traveled a lot, etc. Like, learned a lot, and just great life experience. In 2023, I was in the hospital for 150 days. not straight, 128 days straight, but total it was about 150. And the life change I experienced in that 150 days in the hospital is way more meaningful and just eye-opening than, and look, we all want to be successful. Everyone does. I just don't want to be successful in the wrong things that don't matter. Like, I don't think I'm going to worry about my free throw percentage when I'm on my deathbed one day. I don't think I'm going to worry about how many games we won. I will worry about how did I use what I was given to affect the people around me. Because the first part of me being in the hospital, this was May 30th when I was admitted, and I think June, that whole month, I was like, I'm not going to be here that long, the whole time. And then I came to a realization that I was going to be there a lot longer. Like, I was still trying to hold on to events and speaking engagements and things I had. Like, it's summertime, it's time to have fun. My daughter's out of school. And in my mind, I'm just like, I'm missing out on so many opportunities. FOMO is real. Like, God, can't you see that, you could be using me out there to do things? Like, that's where life is, right? And I was so convicted because I was in a season, a lot of times we're in a season of life that we don't want to be in. And we miss the people and the platform that we have. We miss the opportunity because it doesn't look the way we expected it to look. I didn't expect, like, of course I care about nurses and doctors, but like, not in this situation. Like, let's make it a different situation. I can care from the outside looking in. But when I was in the hospital, I got convicted of like, those four walls that you're in, that's your platform right now. That's where you need to be used. That's where you can be a light to, look, nobody wants to be in the hospital that's in there. So nurses and doctors are dealing with grumpy, sick people all the time. So I was like, be something different. And when I got that conviction, it wasn't like, that I knew that was the next right thing, but I didn't want to do it. What about me? I'm uncomfortable. I'm the one that's hurting. I'm the one that's suffering. And when we get caught up in that is the mindset of the past, of the things I can't control, things I couldn't do anything about. And it was affecting me, my present. And it was going to make my future worse, because who wants to keep coming into a room where a patient's an a-hole to them? Nobody knows. So that conviction, that major conviction, made me realize the priceless pursuit of being present, of where your platform, where you are. You don't need to be on the stage. You don't need to be on doing a TED Talk. You don't need to be in a room like this. It's the consistency in every day of us being the light of things that we can't control. What you mentioned earlier of our perspective. How do we, if we want to change the world, and it's cliche, but seriously, it does start with us. I don't know how you force somebody else to change. Just in this last political season, I didn't see anybody convert or change from being screamed at a protest. Anyway, I didn't see anything happening positively from someone screaming and yelling and trying to get their passion and pursuit. But when there were times where there could be some conversations of being understood, of why that person may think that way, you might not still be in agreement, but at least we can be cordial, right? We can agree to disagree, and I don't have to hate you. Or, anyways, that was just a little tangent there, because it's just you hate to see such disunity. We're all in this game of life together. It's short. It's quite temporal. We don't know what tomorrow holds, what we have today. So, like, if we have the choice, I think we wake up every single day with a chance and a choice. Why choose to be bitter? Why choose to be angry and be over petty things that we can't change? And this is the last thing, because I was trying to remember it. It's about the locus of control. When I was in the hospital that long time, my dad put this really awesome flyer or graphic on the wall for me to see every day, because I was just struggling. I didn't want to be there, multiple surgeries, just life was hectic. And he said, I want you just to look at this and focus on what you can control. Because we have no control sometimes over the results, other people's opinions, the past, the future. Like, we have control over today. Thoughts, our words, our attitude. Huge one. The media that we consume. What are we listening to? What are we watching? What are we reading on a constant basis? It's really tough because this thing it'll spew out a lot, right? It'll spew out a lot at a short amount of time. How can we let this be a tool that we use instead of that's using us? We just gotta be mindful of these things. Because when I was there and I was just wasting my time with this phone, it wasn't helping anything. But when I started listening to some, this just worked for me. Some Christian music in the morning that got me going, get my mind in the right place. I started journaling. If anything, if I wasn't writing, I at least I had this feelings wheel that I would look to identify where I was. At least, if I can identify where I was, I can be real. Your GPS is useless if it doesn't have the starting destination. You cannot get to peace if you're not real about being stressed or being overwhelmed where you are. And that was so transformational for me because the last thing that I realized with my daughter when I was there during that time, so much time to think and be introspective. All right, when I get out of here, I'm gonna take her to Disney. You know what? We're gonna buy Disney. That's how great of a dad I'm gonna be. That was my mindset. And I said, you know what? She's 11 at the time. I said, it might be wiser if I just ask her, because kids are pretty direct and like they don't overcomplicate things. Because I was thinking profound. A lot of times, we go to a new year, a new thing starts. We think like, and it's great ambition, fantastic. But can you repeat it? Can you show up and it not become a chore? So I said, Kyla, what are some things I can do to be a better dad? She said, help me with my homework more. Okay, sure. Snuggle with me on the couch and watch TV. The only hesitation I had on that, her show choice was awful. Golly. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And again, and again, and again. And the last thing, she said, I just want you to play Barbies with me more. 3 really simple things, but they take intentionality. She just wanted my time. She just wanted me to be present with her in all of those things, to do life together. So I close with that. Where are we missing out because we want opportunity or connection to look a certain way when we can just ask, for one, and 2, we can keep things simple. It's not the profound, it's the being consistent. If anyone would tell you that, Billy Donovan would. He certainly would tell you about, and he is an everyday guy. He's one of the most consistent people I've ever met in my life. And I wouldn't be the person that I am today without him. I know that's someone that you really respect. So I know what time is it? I don't know where we
You keep talking, I'm gonna say here.
Do you have any questions or something? It can be basketball related, life related, doesn't matter.
First, what was one of the shows that she watched that was annoying?
Oh, it was this Australian show, Mermaid and
Oh,
Mermaid Australia.
H2O.
H2O.
Yes, that's it.
I've seen it too.
Yes.
I hate that you know that.
Again, 9 or 19,
I hate that for
17.
us. It was awful. It was so bad.
There's a remake of it, like, yeah,
We're not
There's one
finding
with the
that.
mermaid.
We're not.
Oh, no.
Yeah, yes.
Alana, Alakai,
Oh,
Riley,
yeah.
Alexis, Asher, Hannah,
Oh, all 8?
Tatum, and TJ.
That's
Put me on the spot. That was mine.
And their ages?
Yeah. And their birthdays and their social.
Patric, did you have a substantial, were you this positive a person before your accident, or did you have to get here at post-accident?
I think I was a pretty optimistic person before. I think that's one of those things when I say you have a choice every day, like you can look at anything and give it the amount of energy that you want, like positive or negative. Being stuck in traffic, you are the traffic. We are the traffic. Like you can make that the bane of your existence, or you can just say, all right, you know what? It is what it is. I can't control. And that's kind of like the mindset I took with life in general. Always trying to find the silver lining. Always just choosing to want to be more hopeful. And I think it prepared me for when, like, it wasn't instant that I went from, you know, being in a car accident to like being where I am now. But I think because of the past, and I love, it's so cool, the tree, when it lets those leaves go, it let go of the past. It ended up helping it in the future because those things decomposed, and if it held on to the past and tried to make it work, it probably wouldn't have been able to use the past in a way to continue to help it grow. And for me, like, because in the past I was more positive, it helped me to find that positivity in the present. Like, I'm like, all right, well, life could be over. That could be one. You're still here, have a great family, still have full function, can still drive, can still have, like, being able, it's so easy to focus on the negative. It is harder to get your mind to go against what you're feeling and like the reality of like, yeah, there's things that I can't do, but all right, what can you still do? What actually is important? Like, can you still be a good husband? Can you still be a good dad? Okay, yes, you can. All right, let's go.
You mentioned a couple. Did I? Okay.
No.
A couple things that you use as tools, and speaking about that positive mindset and how you know, continuing to deliver an inspiring message and such. Are there other tools or routines that you go through? I know you mentioned journaling and you mentioned Headspace.
Yeah.
Like, are there other tools that you use?
I think for me, one thing that works really well, silence. I don't always drive in silence, but it's great.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. It's the first time I was able to start driving my car again. I drove in complete silence for a while, and it was just so peaceful. So you know, that's just one thing that just worked for me. Some people might say they need to play some of the Bee Gees for the next their whole commute, which great group. What else?
One thing I want to ask you.
Being outside. One of my goals is to at least be outside for 45 minutes a day. I don't have any agenda when I'm outside. I just want to be outside. That helps me a lot because I'm sure y'all are inside a lot.
I read your book and I loaned it to somebody.
Okay.
So I'd like to get another copy for me.
Okay.
So do you have any books?
Yeah, I brought. I didn't know how many people were going to be here, so I just brought a box.
Okay, great. All right, great. Good. I'll get one. Good. You got a question? Camille?
I have a question. So, how do you, because the world is not full of people with that attitude, this positive attitude, how do you, if it's something you care about, how do you help them become more positive? How do you influence them?
You gotta be the light. You gotta be that. It's hard to make somebody else.
I know.
But like you can point to some, like when you're around. Gosh, it's such a beautiful day today, or I don't know, just like small things of gratitude that you have. I think sharing that with somebody else, and then maybe you can manufacture. Oh, I'm so grateful about this today. What are you grateful about today? Some positive manipulation. Yeah, it is. That's what it is. Yeah, absolutely. Are they really going to be like, I'm not grateful for anything? Come on.
Josh?
Yeah. So you mentioned about God and your faith. Were you saved before your accident or after? And if it was before, did your accident bring you closer?
I would say before, and yeah, my accident brought me closer. I just don't know where I would find faith, belief, hope for the future, even just acceptance of the present and being like, okay, like God is still good in this. Like there's still good that can come from this. I don't know how I would be able to come to that point if I didn't believe. Like even if I'm wrong, I'd much rather be on that side of optimism, faith, belief versus like, oh, nothing's ever going to change, bitterness. Like you just really see when your platform, your atmosphere, the people that you're around, like how much control you have over affecting everyone else with your energy. And I just am so sensitive to that because I just don't want to be a burden. And yeah, I just don't want to be a burden to an already a hard situation and want to make it harder for the people that I love around me that like are giving everything to try and help me. You know, that's just, I'm not perfect at that. You know, I have my days for sure, don't we all? Yeah. But I strive to be really intentional about that best I can.
Do you still talk or communicate with Billy Donovan?
Yeah. He wrote the foreword of my book, actually. I haven't talked to him in a little bit. I still keep in touch with his wife, Christine. She's the best. I hope he doesn't get fired. The Bulls are not good. They're so bad. I hope he doesn't get fired. But he's not coming back to college basketball. I'll tell you that. If there's a question there, he's not.
I have a question. So some of the time when you were in the hospital or when you were feeling like especially like down about, you know, physically, emotionally, what are some of the ways that people were able to kind of like minister to you?
That's good.
Like,
that's a good question. So a few different things. Like that's why it's so important for doctors that first off to realize how impactful they are on their patients, because like some of the doctors I had were so great. Like I enjoyed when they came in. We chat, like it wasn't, yes, a very medical serious situation that we're in, but it just made the experience so much better. Like we had stuff to talk about when they came in that wasn't medical related. And then two of my best friends within 3 weeks came and told me that they were expecting their first daughter, their first child. And that was incredible for me because it's like, when I was struggling, you know, you're not thinking too much about the future and everybody else. And something in me was like, Uncle Pat's got to be there for those 2 little girls. So that was super, super impactful for me, looking forward to the future. And then like, gosh, I just want to be out of there so badly. And that's a whole nother story, because sometimes we want to get out of a season of life so fast because it's not great, and then we get to the next one, and that one's still hard. It's still hard. Like, you know, pain is inevitable, suffering is not, and this is something I've been actually wrestling with. I believe that statement is true. Pain is inevitable, suffering is not, but there is some good merit in suffering. There is a merit of like, I am fragile, a weak human being that needs help to do life. But also like, in choosing your pain, like it's painful to get up in the morning every single day and go to the gym, but it's also painful to never go to the gym eventually. And it's like, I just been really wrestling with that because I wouldn't have chosen this pain, but what's come from it has been remarkable, nothing short of remarkable. And I'm so grateful that, gosh, just within this 2.5 years, almost 3 years, more impact, more fulfillment than I've had the first 30. And that was, as I said, a guy that played professional basketball, and that stuff was great, but like fulfillment, purpose, yeah. And I do it all for free. That's how crazy that is, right?
I have a question for you.
Yes, Mr. Octavius, double twins.
Yes, sir.
Plus 3.
You play NBA basketball, right? You play NBA basketball.
Yes.
And you seem like a man of God, right? You said before your accident.
Yes.
How did that mix with your NBA teammates and that culture?
Yeah, that's a great question. You have to be anchored because look, athletes, especially professional athletes, they've been idolized by everybody else their whole life. You are the center. You are this. So, and I'm not saying it's all, it's an implicit bias. It's subconscious as well. Like people are telling you how great you are constantly. And yeah, it's really hard to have the perspective of like, I don't need God, or to not have that perspective, or like, oh yeah, he's just a side piece into my life. So it's really easy. You know, I've been in locker rooms where there's no other Christian, there are Christian and not. When I was overseas, what helped me the most, I had to stay connected with people back here. I had to. But like, bad character corrupts good intentions and vice versa. This is where I knew I was slipping, because I started comparing myself to the other guys. Oh, I'm not as bad as him. Still short, still sin, right? Yeah, that's where I was, my time overseas really helped me to see who I don't want to be.
I have a question. You mentioned the Maple Leafs and how they don't hold on to the past. So I just wonder if there were times that you were kind of, what if?
Yes, I thought about that a lot with, should I have left and gone to the NBA sooner? Like I could have left after my sophomore year, probably been a first round draft pick. Would life have been different? Yes. Would it have been better? I don't know that. More money, more problems, right? And yeah, that was one that I wrestled with for a long time, because I felt as though I wanted to play basketball until I was 35, you know, and life just went in a different direction than I desired, and it was really important for me early to accept and believe that I'm more than a basketball player. You don't really know what that truly means, like until you're not anymore. But at least that foundation was there in my mind. Because you know, when I had my first major knee injury and couldn't play for a whole year, that was my first like test of like, all right, who are you now that you can't play basketball? And that was hard. That was hard. You're not a part of the team in the same way. So much free time, and 23-year-old doesn't do well with life. I tell you that in another country, yeah, that was, yeah. It's another story for another day. You know, with a few margaritas in there.
What Christian music gets you pumped up?
Anything Elevation. Or
Elevation?
anything Maverick City. Oh my gosh, yeah. Especially the dude Chris Brown. He's so good. Brandon Lake too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's great.
My question is about functional disability. Okay, so
I love what you mentioned earlier too. That's amazing.
So the thing that I'm wondering, because you're famous for the disability, but you also have a heart of gold, and I can see that you see that. So how do you see the difference between how you're treated with a disability and somebody like me who nobody even knew, but who's living now who lives here, or on a walker?
Well, I would say when I was in Denver, where I was at Craig Hospital, we did an outing and went to a Denver Broncos game, and that kind of was my first like, holy crap, people don't really see you in a wheelchair. So that was quite the perspective change. I don't know, like I know that, you know, I go to this place called Reflections Wound Care and Wellness Center. It's not too far from here actually. And a lot of the just different patients I meet, they're not able to function in the same way that I am. So my heart just goes out for them. And a lot of them, they don't leave their house for anything else unless it's like a doctor's appointment or something like that. So I just think that my responsibility is to show up, to try to be an encouragement to people that are disabled and try to push those limits as best they can. And you know, because when I first started with the SEC Network after my accident, I was transferring from my wheelchair into a regular seat, so a lot of people still had no idea. And then for someone said something to me and I really took it to heart, and so I'm in my chair every time because I want everyone to see, you know, and hopefully especially people that are having some type of disability or something, that it can maybe be something that pushes them a little bit forward or some positivity there. Yeah. Because I still get messages of people like, oh, I had no idea that, you know, like, yeah, it did. Life is on. I'm here. What a great lunch. Fantastic.
Tell us about your foundation.
Oh, my foundation. I think I still have some flyers in there. But my foundation, it's right in alignment. Like, that's something that eventually I would love to be a part of. Providing scholarships for kids to go to school? That's awesome.
Yeah, we got some info on it.
Oh, you did? Oh, appreciate that. Thank you so much. With it. I can tell you're organized. Yeah. My foundation, I'm trying to help as many people that have gone through what I've gone through, because I've seen and we know if you don't have insurance or you're underinsured, your situation is completely different. Want to help people get back to work, renovations they might need at their house, equipment they might need, just some money they might need, because bills don't stop after an accident. So we have a golf tournament sometime in the fall. We did a December tournament before when we had it way too cold. And yeah, I'm just trying to help as many people as possible that, spinal cord injury or not, that are just affected by life in a really tough way, their fault or not, and just want to get back on their feet. So that's pretty much what we do. Yeah.